BeastNet Podcast, sponsored in part by James Safety Services, OCR Buddy, and supported by the fitness community. Here we discuss all things fitness related, running, rucking, mental health and preparedness, and of course, obstacle course racing. Welcome to the BeastNet.
We don't bite hard.
Well, 1987. Yeah, so we start this thing out. There's a book out there that came out in 1987 called When Society Becomes an Addict. Mm-hmm. And it was really cutting edge. Like, what if people got addicted to stuff? And ergo the couch.
Yep, ergo the couch, and ergo we're all addicted to something. Some good, some bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's positive things and negative things, but the couch is certainly the symbol of it all.
Yes. And that's one thing, for us, I mean, for the listeners, explain real quick what is the idea with the couch? Why are you coming for my couch?
Well, it started with about 2.5 years ago. I was working with a guy, sweet soul, big, tall, redheaded ginger guy, just big and goofy and kind. And I was working at a school, and the students were doing races with me. They were doing there were kids that are neurodivergent, and we were helping wheelchair athletes in the races. And he's like, I want to do a Spartan race, but I'm afraid I'm not in good enough shape. I'm like, I'm barely in enough shape. He's like, do you think I could do it? It's like, all you gotta do is keep up with the wheelchair. That's it. That is a more heart than scars race. If you can keep up with the wheelchair, and sometimes that's hard if Joey's pushing. But in some of the earlier races and the longer things, that became more manageable. And so he said, yeah, I want to do it. And so I'm like, all right. And the kid's name was Dalton. And I'm like, all right, Dalton, let's do this. And so I was away for a couple of days, and I came back, and I was looking around like, hey, where's Dalton at? And like, didn't you hear? I'm like, no. And Dalton was in recovery, like I'm in recovery, so we're talking about stuff. And he'd been struggling with it, but I think the races are a good thing. The Spartan races and being sober, it's a positive thing. And so I heard that he overdosed on fentanyl. And I ended up going to his celebration of his life thing, and was talking about like, Dalton said to me he was stuck on the couch. He was stuck, and he couldn't get up, and that's why he was having a hard time getting motivated. So I said to him, well, helping the people with the wheelchairs is what motivates me. That's where I get my motivation to keep going. And this is hard. Dalton told me he was stuck on the couch. And so when I went to his end of life ceremony, where all the recovery community and all the young people, and so it's a young people group in Asheville, and which is really ironic because I got sober and spent when I first got sober in Asheville in those young people's meetings. And now I am definitely not a young person in the meeting. But back then I thought, man, I'm so cool. We're too cool because we're like 19, 20 years old, or, in sobriety, like, who are all these old farts? And now, it's very rare to have 35 years and not be 100 years old. Yeah. So I'm like, I go to some NA, I go to AA meetings, I go to NA meetings, I go to AA more, but I was at some NA meetings and people were like, how much time you got? I was like, like 35 or 30. And they're like, man, 30, back to lunch, 30 months, that is awesome. I go, thank you. But somebody else would be like, it's 30 years. It's not 30 months. It's like, it's a longer term thing. So we're at this young people's meeting group celebrating Dalton's life. And because he told me he was stuck on the couch, I thought, you know what? I want to carry a couch through a race for him. And his best friend there was Chris. He's like, that's hysterical. That's a great idea. Because Chris and Dalton, when they went to a rehab in the wilderness, and they came out and they were like a halfway house. What they ended up doing was buying the ugliest couches they could possibly get. And they would have like these like little mini podcasty things where they would talk about stupid stuff. They're playing video games. They're hanging out on the couch. And the whole time they're trying to upsell this couch they got for $25. Like, they'd be like, look at the quality of this thing. Do you hear it? I don't even hear the springs. So they came up with this like entire thing where they would like, if you make a commitment right now, we'll bring this couch to you. And so they would do this whole stupid thing about the couches, and they would flip them. They were always looking for the better couch while they were sitting on the couch. And so Chris, I was like, let's do it. Let's do this thing. And so trying to get some plans together for him to do it. And then he was changing jobs and leaving the schools. Like, are you sure you're okay? Are things all right? I was like, it's all gonna be good. And then Chris overdosed on fentanyl. So the day that Noelle and I asked each other to get married with our two kids on top of a mountain in Linville Gorge, I said, we got to hurry. Why? We got to hurry. We took this beautiful picture. We had this great moment. But I had to rush down the mountain and get to Chris's life ceremony with all the young people again. And I'm like, here I am again. And I'm going to carry a damn couch for them. And so I met his parents and told them. And, you know, a year went by. And in this year, they set up the Harlan, because it's really Harlan Christopher Squire, Harlan Serenity Foundation for a scholarship for people to help for young people that want to go in the woods to get sober, so they could do their, you know, and recover, because that was really important to them. And so they started that thing. They had a climbing gym thing about, I don't know, 5 months ago, because they both the guys like to climb, and so that's what the idea was. And so I met them, and the kid that I'm sponsoring is part of it, and so I think about him. I think about that kid. I'm like, so their other best friend. There's 3 guys, and I'm like, I don't want this to happen to him, you know. So we're at the climbing gym. We're talking to his parents again. And so I really want to do this couch thing, and so we decided to go for the race in April in Charlotte. I put together a quick message for Joe sitting on the couch, and it's like, hey Joe, I got this idea for Joe to send. I'm like, here's what I want to have happen. I want you to know that these 2 young men both passed away. They're really good friends. And we want to carry a couch for them, for those that are stuck and for those that are lost. And he's like, great. We got on a Zoom call, and Dan is amazing. He's like, let's get this thing going. And so here are the statistics on this. Every 5 minutes, somebody, during this time that we talked for an hour, every 5 minutes, somebody overdoses in the United States of America. 70% of those roughly are from fentanyl or fentanyl related. Every 11 minutes, somebody commits suicide. And 2 out of 3 people say they're alone, feeling disconnected. So before it gets to the overdose, before it gets to the suicide, the couch, man, it's something you earn. Like we're coming with things like we're gonna have some of our responses say is like couch responsibly, earn your couch time. I mean, like at the end of a long day, if you're trying to work a decent job, connect with your family, make a meal that's not crap, spend some time with your kids, and at the end of the day, after you've done all of that, and that's a lot to do, you know, watching one show on the comfort of the couch with somebody you care about or with your dog is, that's great. I mean, that is you even land on it, the whole position, you get your everything, you get your drink, you're all, it's good. Mm-hmm. You know, the couch is a good and happy place.
It is. Can be.
It can be. And then it goes into that binge situation. So here we were at the starting line. We were getting everybody together. So we came in on a Saturday. We set up the tent. We had the couch, and we had a sign saying, I lost my, or I was stuck, or somebody was stuck. And so people were taking pictures on the couch. And some people it was really strange. We're like, it's like, oh, that's not for me. I'm not stuck on the couch. I'm doing a Spartan race. We're like, yeah, I get that. That's cool. But have you ever been stuck on the couch? This one guy was like, no. I was like, that is interesting.
Yeah.
She said, well, do you know anybody stuck? No, all my friends are active. I'm like, all your friends are active? I'm like, surely you've lost somebody, haven't you? And he's like, no, all my. I was like, you're unique. You're the one person in America. We're coming for your couch.
You're a unicorn.
Sense. You're the one guy.
Yeah.
But then as more people came through, Graham is Chris's father, and he was taking pictures and setting up an ad that their daughter was taking pictures of people on there. And some people are saying, well, I lost this family or that. And so Dalton not Dalton, but Graham got to say, I lost my son to these people. And so there's immediate people were getting on there. And so they brought us up to the main stage. We carried the couch to the things that this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. People got more interested. But when we put that couch up on the shoulders, I was like, Joe, can I get permission to put Spartan on one sleeve for Spartan, one sleeve for Tough Mudder? He's like, because what's going to happen is we're going to have a couch on the shoulder, and we're going to carry it like a coffin, and we're going to carry it through the area, and everyone's going to see it. I mean, you've been trying to get 100 million people off the couch, as we know, Joe's a badass. I mean, like, he is
Oh, yeah.
the same age as I am. He's so fit, it's annoying. Being friends with this guy is not an easy thing to do. Like,
No.
right as COVID was happening, I went up and saw him at his house, and he brought me out. And at first, we were just having coffee, we were having a good time, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to go do some yoga with me." I'm like, "All right, Joe, where are we going?" And it was this yoga thing up in Boston. It just was like look, it's for you. It's this Viking helmet yoga thing. And of course, I'm in my kilt and I'm chunky, and they're laughing like, "Oh, look, the logo's coming in." And it was like hot yoga with Joe and his wife. That you don't want to be next to Joe during yoga. Because he was just looking, he's doing some stuff, his legs up, and he's just chuckling at me. I'm sweating and falling down. And,
I can only imagine, like, I wouldn't be able to touch my toes, and he's got, like, like, got himself folded up into a freaking Louis Vuitton bag. I mean,
before my knees blew out, back when I was the Outward Bound guy, before I had the big change. I mean, I was a very competitive athlete back in high school. I swam. I was in the top 100 in Florida, which put me in the top 300 for the United States. That was, I swam at 5 in the morning and then went to school and then swam. I swam, I wrestled, I ran track. I was competitive in all of those things. I got varsity letters and all those things. I was a very serious athlete, and I went on to become an Outward Bound instructor. So I got the thing. I mean, I was looking at those great races that they have where you would do the whole go everywhere, like you kayak and ski and all that. I think that's what I wanted to do. And then my knees flew out, and I went from being a mountain guide, a mountain biker. I was the captain of my cycling team in college. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I was like Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And then my knees completely gave out on me. And I got so depressed. I got sadder about losing my knees than I did about losing my fingertips.
Yeah. No, I trust me, I completely understand it. It's one of those things, especially when you're active like that, and suddenly that becomes your identity.
Yeah.
Your identity is your activity and your athletics. And then all of a sudden that's taken away. And then where do you end up? On the couch.
On the couch. And I was still eating like I just ran, 3 6-minute miles in the woods. If you can run a 6-minute mile and do a couple of them in a row, and if you can do 7-minute miles for 10 miles. You can eat whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you include that, so my day would be, I get up in the morning, I'm like, I'm gonna go for a 5K, and I would run to the park, and I would do a thing, come back, and then I would mountain bike with some friends later, and then we go do activities with kids. I was working Young Life in a thing in Colorado Springs where the activity for that night was capture the flag, or it was some crazy scavenger hunt throughout the city riding your mountain bike. I mean, so it was play all the time, and I remember getting size 32 pants. And thinking, because I thought they were kind of baggy and cool on me, because now I don't even know what I'm like 40. There's just no way. So if you lose that part of your identity and you still eat that way, that's a lot of people. And so I was completely bummed out and lost. I let it all go. Like I had my knees operated on. I had really difficult recovery, and it just completely changed my life. And it wasn't until the idea that came around when we brought a friend of mine who was missing his leg to go through a Tough Mudder when we were Team Nubs and Stubs. That was 2012. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to help my new friend feel connected back to the mission? We're not going to go that fast. And I put together a group of guys at the Y, and we came up with a T-shirt, and that's what started. And that's what shifted for me. So Spartan races got introduced to me in a way that I was in Tough Mudder was for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I got off the couch.
And it's tough. It's one of those things. Yeah. It's tough. It's one of those things, like for me, like, everyone knows I lost a lot of weight during 2020, during COVID, then got hurt. And I felt like I lost my identity, even though I was doing it all when I was bigger. But then all of a sudden, it's like a lot of people know I was done. I wasn't going to do this anymore. I was done. And then I went out with the team. last year, and I remembered this is why I do this. It's
Yes.
not to be the fastest person out here. It's that feeling that you get when you get someone, like when we had Marla and we crossed that 30 miles, on the top of this motor, and I'm like, this is what it's about.
Yes.
Helping others, doing that. And I mean, I used to give talks in Washington State for, like, I talked at the governor's conference on, suicide prevention and construction. And I mean, went through all that, and I don't think I completely understood it until in the last like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple friends that have died from suicide, unfortunately, you know, and the last couple years, it hit me hard. I think a lot of people don't realize how far on the couch, as you say it,
Yeah.
I was, with the move and everything else, and felt like I lost my identity, and then I felt completely alone anyway in
Yeah.
Washington. And then even coming down here, and now I'm starting, now that I'm doing stuff with the team again and stuff like that, it's like I don't have to be right there with them, but I know you, Joey, Jennifer, Amanda, Brittany, any of them are a phone
Yeah.
call away if I have a day. And
You're
I'll
on the
call them.
same mission as somebody else is
Yeah.
doing it, keeps you going, So that 1 in 3 is feeling, 2 out of 3 are feeling lonely. And then 70% of people in the United States of America are either overweight or moving quickly into being obese.
Yeah.
And the food is engineered. It is not an accident. I don't know why we are in this situation. C.S. Lewis was a very smart writer, and I'm going to use not a very popular word, sin. And I don't want to shame people in this, but he described it the best way I can imagine. He said that sin is ever increasing desire. So that's going up, ever increasing desire with ever diminishing pleasure. So that's why, one Funyun is not enough. That's why,
No, it's not.
It's not. So there's a band called Manchester Orchestra, and one of their lines is that many is a hell of a drug. And that's it. So whether, it started off with a couple, I'm just having a couple slices of pizza to eat the whole pie. I'm just having a couple bites of that little ice cream thing. And then before you know it, you've killed it on the couch. It's like how the food is engineered in such a way to hit us in our stress, to make us want more, and to bypass the natural being sated. So those corn syrups are not something that your brain, the partially hydrogenated oils, all those things that are illegal in other parts of the world, bypass your brain. Yeah, for a reason. They bypass your brain to say, hey, I'm sated. I'm full. And it allows you to continue to binge.
It does. And it's one of those things. And I think that's one of the reasons too, you find that our country, those numbers for loneliness and sadness and, people who die from suicide and everything else. A lot of people point out, oh, it's because of guns. It's because no. It's because we as a society feel alone.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how many times I've been in a group and felt completely alone because I just don't get along with everyone. It's not that I don't get along. It's just, I just don't feel like I belong there. And then like you say, with the food, I mean, I'm a muncher. I will, I'll walk around and I'll eat all day long if you allow me to. And part of that is because, like I said, I don't feel hungry.
Right.
And it's one of those things. It's, nothing against, I'm a proud American. I love my country, but there's problems.
There's some
And it
significant
comes down to
problems.
a lot of it is food.
And specifically, it's sugar, processed sugars, refined sugars, and everything. They put it, so they said that fat was the enemy, and it turned out, well, it's really not fat, it was the sugar, but that was cheaper to put sugar in food. You could get people to eat more of it. And so alcohol is nothing but fermented sugar. It's fermented sugar, whether you get it from the potato for the vodka or you get it from the hops. However it goes, that is an ultra form of it's the yeast eats the sugar, consumes it, and urinates. Basically the waste of it is alcohol, which is a poison, which initially lowers your inhibitions, makes you feel like the life of the party, things feel pretty good, but it's a depressant. It's like a Robin Williams depression, which I relate to the most, which is you seem like the life of the party. Everything is really fun. You're having a good time, and you think, oh, more. I could have this a few more, and then you're isolated. I was a pass out drinker. Some people are blackout drinkers, but drinking gets you alone. And so that's a more high speed thing that you can look at. Like if you're into Dunkin' Donuts, which I love, or you're into just eating the junk food. Okay, that's one thing, and that might turn slowly into type 2 diabetes, and you could end up losing a toe and then a foot and then you're in a chair and you're going to die. Yeah, or it can turn to heart disease, but it seems like it's a slow killer. The sugar seems like a slow killer. Now, it robs your quality of life, but if you add alcohol to that, it speeds it up dramatically. If you add the opiates,
big time.
If you add the opiates for painkillers because your back hurts because you're out of weight, you're overweight, you're not exercising, you're stuck on that couch, you hurt your back, you hurt your knee, you start taking some Oxycontin, you go along with that. Okay. I mean, they decided they were going to take heroin and increase its power, which, jumped up to Dilaudid. And when it turned into Dilaudid, people were like, oh my God, that was the drug. And then they're like, well, let's make something 10,000 times stronger. And that's where the fentanyl comes in. I mean, when they administer fentanyl, you have a doctor and a nurse and you're already in a surgery setting where they could open your heart and massage you. They have oxygen going, where they could defibrillate. If you're taking that stuff, it is so that you're amputating a leg or you're getting a gastric bypass or something. It's serious as can be. And now that fentanyl is readily available, and they're using it to spike cheaper drugs. And now people are dying the first time they use it. And it's not just pills that could be. No. It's not just shooting up anymore because it couldn't think. Now they can, I don't want to talk about the specifics, I don't want to give anybody ideas, but if anybody's in the know, they can take that solid form of it or that liquid form of it, and they can infuse it into any inhalable substance. So all of a sudden, you think you're just smoking weed. The end of my using, I was at a concert, and I thought I was getting either a joint or a clove cigarette, and I didn't care. I was like, that's fine. I was a cute girl.
Either way works.
I was like, all right, I was at this concert, and they had chainsaws playing. It was like, this is the 80s. This is 1988. I'm a senior in high school, about to go off to college. And, I was definitely addicted to painkillers. I was definitely addicted to alcohol. So grabbing a questionable thing from somebody was fine. As I took a couple hits from it, I'm like, this is more than pot. This doesn't even feel like pot. And then I realized it was PCP. The walls melted. It went, and they were doing Ministry was doing a cover by a band called The Revolting Cocks, which sounds revolting. And the guy was screaming that the voice of God means nothing anymore.
That's awesome.
Upside down crucifix in neon with chainsaw sounds. And I just remember going like, this is terrifying. And it stayed with me like, note to self, only take drugs from friends. Only take drugs from friends. But
I couldn't imagine.
I wasn't planning on going this far. And that's a horror story. That definitely scared us, kind of scared me to be like, I really need to look into it. When I did get clean and sober, I thought, man, anything can be spiked. You got to be careful. Well, that danger, that was a horrible experience and a learning experience. But that today could have been a fatal experience.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. I mean, I'll be honest, I couldn't even imagine a Revolting Cocks or Ministry on any kind of hallucinogen, because it's insane to watch when you're not on a hallucinogen.
Right.
Because I've seen I've kind of seen Ministry. That's a long story that Boggs might have to tell you about. But
for those of you who are listening, Ministry is not a Christian band about applying ministry.
No, it's not at all. But
No.
Uncle Al is a little crazy.
Yeah.
But, and that's one of the big things. Like I can remember, back in the 80s and 90s, I mean, there was a lot of that. Just, oh, hey, you got past something and you did it. I mean, I don't remember how many times I've been at a party and someone's like, hey, do you want a bump? Sure. And you didn't even think about it. But then it's like, now you think back and you're like, how do I know what that was?
Right.
that could have been coke, it could have been heroin, it could have been it could have been anything.
Could have been
And
anything.
now,
But even still, the amounts of it, because it was cost prohibitive to get a really big thing, you had to work your way up into that more. So like we talked about that C.S. Lewis thing, ever increasing desire, ever diminishing pleasure, you could build a tolerance towards it.
Yes.
And so one bump, once, whatever, unless you were shooting up and you didn't know what you were getting and you were shooting up, because some people cut the heroin with horrific things that could just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But unless something was, that usually that group, that batch of drugs in an area would kill a bunch of addicts at once, and then the word would go through the addicts. They would all talk to each other, and they would kind of figure out, and they would sort of self-regulate that a little bit, so it wouldn't go as far. Now nobody knows. I have had 3 young people that I care about that all came from very nice families that had a very different lifestyle than I did, and they're all dead from fentanyl. Dead with it is that when it's in their arm as they're shooting it, they're dead before the needle comes out of their arm. They weren't even able to inject and pull it out and set it down. They were dead with the needle in their arm.
Because it happens so fast with that fentanyl. And I think a lot of people get that thing, they get that idea in their head of the person who this is going to happen to is that person who's living over on the street corner and doing all of this. When in all reality, a lot of the people that are dying from this, not that it would be any better that it's that person on the street corner, but in our society, unfortunately, people look at people like that as a lesser than, which they shouldn't.
Right.
But it's people that you wouldn't expect. It's someone who their dad's a minister and they grow up in a beautiful home and have a great family, the happiest person you've ever known. And then all of a sudden you find out they were taking drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times for those people that are happy, like a Robin Williams and stuff like that, like you mentioned earlier, to be that happy in the life of the party takes a lot out of you. Because I was that person for years.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of mental energy to do that when most of the time I was the saddest, most depressed person at that party, but you wouldn't know.
That's right.
Because I was the one on top of the table dancing like, "Whoa, let's do this."
Yes.
Because I thought if everybody saw me as this insane, happy person, nobody would realize the truth.
Right.
And those are the people that you never know. They're on that couch.
Well, and the scary thing now is that you could be hanging out with friends and say, "Oh, I hurt my back." With a friend, like I worry about this for my daughter. She's a teenager. She's going to be going as a freshman in high school. She could be with a girlfriend. She could be playing basketball, hurt her back, and someone could say, "Oh, hey, it's one of my mom's painkillers. Here, you want this? It's just a Vicodin." Well, it might not be a Vicodin. Yeah, so that's the thing. So people would think, "Oh yeah, what's the big deal? Oh, you got a couple extra painkillers, or you got Oxycontin." We worry about that. Yeah, it's serious, but you don't overdose on Oxycontin from one use. You don't. It just didn't happen. Bless you, puppy. And so that's the danger of it. So, but before we get to the taking a stranger's pill, because some people relate to that, they well, that's not me. I only take prescribed medication. Okay. Lots of people are dying and getting addicted to prescribed medication. Like, okay, so you're not using drugs and you have your drinking under control. Fantastic. You're not like I am, 45, 50 pounds overweight, which means I'm courting with type 2 diabetes. Okay, great. So your body weight is your body mass is in shape. Fantastic. Okay, cool. What's your mental health like? Are you working too much? Because you can work too much. Or, you can exercise to the point that you're just chasing your demons. It's like there's so many different things that the couch can be. People are able to order everything from home now. They can order their groceries from home. They can order illicit materials to watch on their television. They can watch. It's like the Roman days. So they used to give out blood. I mean, not blood, but blood circus. So they would have gladiator fights. They would have orgies. Yeah. And they would give out the junk food of the day, which was bread. They used to call it bread and circus, bread and games. And the people would all come to the location and they'd be distracted by the fact that the empire was falling. And people would eat the junk food, watch the violence, and then maybe fool around with somebody. They'd get drunk and do it all over again. Now, this is it. This on the couch is the stadiums in Rome. It's right here. It's delivered to the door. Not only can you order live stream all these different games, but it's gotten so bad for young people now that they have the big TV and they have the console in their hand. They're playing the game and they can't figure out how to fix it. So they get their phone and then they end up watching on their phone, watching another gamer play the game they're playing to try to figure out. And then they just end up just watching the gamer play. There's massive channels of kids just watching other kids play games. I mean, it's like 1 degree of separation, even from the engagement of the game, which at least gets your brain going and gets you moving. Now they're watching somebody else play it.
Which is always fascinating me. I'm like, how I need my brain to be active. Like one of those things, I'll be honest, I'm one of those annoying people that my TV's on and I'm not paying one bit of attention to it. But if you turn it off, I will be like, hey, what'd you do?
What's going on? Yeah.
Because I need that stimulation, but I'm doing other things. But I'm definitely, I don't know if it's because I'm ADHD. I just can't sit there and watch a TV. I have to have like a million other things going. So, but I've done it where I've sat on the TV, on the couch, that's how I went from 180 to 250 again. I got injured and said, oh, well, guess I can't do what I was doing anymore. My identity's gone.
And it's going to ask you that question. Are you still watching? Like, yeah, stop shaming me. So you can binge watch the show. You can binge the food. You can play the games. And the more you do that and disconnect from who you really are, because you're not actually grounding with the earth, connecting with the soil, connecting with people, connecting with things. I mean, so we've gotten to the place, and I don't want to be crass, but it's like the majority of young men, their experience of sexuality is manufactured screens that they watch on their phone. Their brain cannot compete with that. That's not their, and they're in a normal lifetime, they're not going to see that many undressed women, but they can see it in a week's worth, and it shifts their brain chemistry. And then if you get it's like junk food. So instead of intimacy, it's junk food. Instead of whole food, it's junk food. Instead of a good, thoughtful show that you're going to watch a movie that's going to impact, like I remember seeing The Mission when I was in college, and it was spectacular.
Do you like the BeastNet? Do you want to keep hearing it? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at BeastNetPod.
It's so hard for young men to connect with. If the father's working 2 jobs, and 60 to 70% of people are divorced, so the father's out of the home. He's either out of the home because they're divorced or because he's working multiple jobs. And no one's throwing a catch anymore. The kids aren't left out in the backyard to play because they're all worried our kids are going to get abducted. They're not playing in the backyard. They're not playing with each other. They're playing video games. And then they find out when we were young and we saw the National Geographic, like, oh, it's showing things. It's showing things I'm not supposed to see. And so we were like, wow, National Geographic. If you showed a modern day 13, 14-year-old boy a National Geographic, like, what's this all about? That's strange. They'd go like, I'm interested in the article. It wouldn't even, because you need more. It wouldn't even be exciting to them. So if you have a kid that's eating the Pop-Tarts, eating the junk food, playing the games by themselves, they're fighting a fight and they're talking trash to people while on a headset, eating the junk food, playing the video game, and the girls in the video games have become more sexualized. The images are, and so they're mixing their sex and their violence, but neither of the violence doesn't impact. There is no actual punch in the face when you talk crap to somebody. The way they talk crap to each other in video games, if they did that in real life, they get hit in the face. And the way that they're experiencing sexuality that's all not real is if they tried that with a real woman, they're going to get slapped in the face or they're going to get nowhere. And so they feel they're out of shape. They don't connect with their body. They don't feel good about themselves. They haven't had the practice of the social skills. It's difficult to make the eye contact, to ask the girl out, to have the confidence. And then if they've learned from pornography, what they've learned is a perversion of the beautiful gift of intimacy. I'm not saying, oh, you like this or you're I'm just saying a perversion of it, that it's too much. It's just too much. Like,
It's about the act and not the intimacy.
Yes.
And that's the one thing with porn. And it's one of those things like I've been married for 22 years now. And I've realized over the years, even when we were growing up, we
Right.
still had kind of that more about the act. And then as
Yeah.
you get older, you're like, okay, cool. The act is over.
Now
That was
what?
3 minutes. What do I do now?
Wow, you got 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean,
That's when I was younger.
The older you get, and I've failed in marriages, and I'm in a different place now that I've like had to, because of my addicted stuff, thinking that somehow some person, place, or thing outside of me is going to fill the hole that is inside of me, and nothing. There is no amount of likes. There is no amount of money. There is no amount of new car smell that can fix the hole inside of you. That is an inside job. And ironically, it comes through connecting with purpose and helping others.
Mhm.
It's acknowledging your own brokenness and asking for help while you're helping others. And then the connection can come in. Then you can honestly be who you actually are and to be loved. Because if it's about your likes on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat, how many snaps you have, and what your body percent fat is, oh, you're 30 inch waist, and how big is this, and how small is that, and all those things that somebody ends up being with you, that's unsustainable. The likes are going to come and go, the body's going to go up and down, all those things going on. But to have somebody who's going to love you for you and connect with you and see you in all your faults and difficulties and be eye to eye, nose to nose, mouth to mouth, chest to chest. But more importantly, more than your genital contact is your heart. Your heart connecting with another person and being still and present and know that you're loved. All the extra stuff is fun. The friction's fun.
Yeah.
But it's not the soul food that you need, because that connection is more powerful.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it's like you said, the genetical whatever connection that part is only a short time. What are you gonna do with the other 23 hours and 30 minutes of your day? You got to fill that with something. I'm one of those people all my life. I've been one of those. You could be what is considered visually the most beautiful person in the world.
Right.
And if what you say that comes out of your mouth and your actions don't touch my soul, I'll still live in a Winnebago. I mean, it's just not, it doesn't do anything. I need, because I know that, like I said, after the intimacy's over, we still have all this time that we're going to do together.
Right.
You know, that we're going to do stuff, and you need to feel, to make my soul feel better.
Right.
You need to be beautiful to my, your soul, and who you are needs to be beautiful.
So the couch can be a lovely place to be with somebody that you love and rub their feet and you get a back scratch, or my partner, my wife, she plucks my ear hair. This is very necessary the older I get. I put my head in her lap, she gets the tweezers out, and we giggle. I mean, it's like a furry python going on in there. And that's really, it makes you feel really closer. And so the couch can be a nice place to be, but we're going to do better if we're going on a walk together. If we're looking each other in, looking at the same screen together is better than both looking down at your phones. If you make a decision to watch something together and to talk about and share that is more intimate. It's more intimate to go for that walk together. It's more intimate to turn and face one another without the screens on and talk to one another. That is more intimate. So how does this whole couch thing come in? The couch itself is now becoming, it's not just a crutch. It's consuming. I like to think of those lobsters that get put in the lukewarm water and they slowly turn the heat up. That's how the comfort works. That's just one episode. It's just one game. I'm just going to play that I get to the next level. Yeah, what's wrong with a Hot Pocket? One Hot Pocket hour cereal. Yeah, sure, I'm having cereal for breakfast, for dinner, but that's all right. It's one more. It's just it's okay. It's just like one tiny step further, and then before you know it, your body begins to weaken because you're not holding yourself upright, and you melt into it. And the more time that goes on, when you try to get out, again, I'm who I love. He wrote a book called The Great Divorce, and his idea was heaven and hell were married. They got divorced, and he had this dream that he died and went to be in hell, and everyone in hell was just like everyone else, except they're just kind of a slimy, oily ghost of themselves. They had all their possessions, but they were just shadows. And it was always raining. And I've been to London a lot. It rains a lot. So it was always raining, and the rain just kept falling through. Everything's just sort of slimy and dark, and people were just doing a shadow version of themselves. But every day, a bus would come down from the heavens and say, hey, you want to ride up to heaven? And some of the ghosts would get on, and once they get on, it's so bright. It was just so bright for them. And they were formless, sort of almost naked in their shadowness. And they didn't have shoes on. And when they get off the bus, the first thing that happens, they step on this lawn into the forest up to the center it was supposed to be God. And they had to step on the grass, and the grass was so sharp and real that it pierced their feet. And they were so uncomfortable. They were so tender-footed that they couldn't deal with the reality of heaven. And most of them got back on the bus. They're like, I don't want to. Yeah. The comfort of the couch can get it so that your feet are so tender-footed that the realness so you're playing a video game where you can run infinite runs and get your mana up, or get your health up, or get your dexterity up, so that your character can run and go on and on and on. But in real life, when you get up and you find out cardiovascularly, how out of shape am I actually? And it's such a bummer. And it's easier just to come in and lay back down again, or sit back down again. You get the real feedback. Try to do 20 burpees. Yeah. Try 20 to do like that deck of fire stuff where you're doing 20 push-ups where you lift your hands up. You find out immediately where the weaknesses are. And so I want people to understand that they're being boiled slowly. You're not alone in this. So more than likely, statistically, you know somebody. So if cancer, a lot of times it's about activity, stress, and food and environment. We don't know exactly how they correlate, but they come together. Fellowship, breaking your bread, and exercise, purpose. Those mitigate. They don't erase cancer, but a good diet, a good breaking of healthy bread, fellowship, purpose, connection, exercise can help you recover more from it. So whether it's breast cancer or testicular cancer, or it's heart disease, or it's diabetes, no matter any of those diseases, which really get worse on the couch, they metastasize on the couch. That is the environment where it grows in isolation and with lack of challenge, and it gets worse. And so you're saying, well, I mean, yeah, such and such. Like my dad recently died last year of lung cancer. It was related to his smoking. You know, he became less active. He got more and more shut down. His life got smaller and smaller and smaller. He ended up on the couch, and then ended up in the hospital bed, and then he ended up. That was it. And so everybody knows somebody they love whose life has been impacted. Everybody knows somebody that, you know, has died in their family due to diabetes or heart disease or lung cancer or whatever the cancer is. And so maybe being physically active and having a purpose, they would have still died, but their quality of life and the length of it would have been better. So that's how serious this getting off the couch.
I completely agree. It's one of those things that's funny. Oh, it is. It's funny. I did the Ironman a couple of weeks ago. And after I finished, my mom, I was talking to her, and she's like, why do you do this? You're going to kill yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but I'll die happy.
Yeah. You might. I mean, my heart might explode. I mean, you know, one of my friends was like, I think maybe you might die on one of these courses. I'm like, so be it. Because I don't feel alone when I'm out there. It's when we got through the start of that race, and we're carrying that couch through, and we got up there, and we're doing the talk. You know, I get handed the microphone, and I'm in front of everybody with that couch. And, you know, this is 11 years of running More Heart Than Scars. You know, now I've changed my role, so I'm now the president rather than the CEO. We've got a guy named Mike Green that's doing that part of it, because I never was a businessman. I didn't know what I was doing. That. You know, Joey's running the races, and he's running that division. We're expanding and growing. And so my ex-wife, who I co-founded with, Wendy Paben, she was up there with me. And we have the couch, and she struggles with the couch, and I struggle with the couch. And I was able to say why we're carrying it for Chris and Dalton. We called it the DC 2023. Like, this is the couch. This is for Dalton and Chris. And it's for all those that we've lost. And there's so many people in my life that I've lost to suicide and to all sorts of diseases and addiction. So that's powerful. And then think of these two young men, but it's all the people that are stuck. And so I started out, I laid on the couch. I say, a lot of you start out as a class 1 couch potato, you're lying down. And you got to get to the place where you're sitting up, which is stage 2. Then you're standing up, which is a stage 3, where you're sitting up. It means at least you're not laying down. You could watch this podcast. You could pay attention to. You could reach out to us. If you're a class 2 couch potato and you're sitting up, you could work on lifting your legs. You could reach for your toe. You could rotate your shoulders. You could do a little something to begin to strengthen yourself while you're watching. You could work your way up to standing up. But then the final version is the lifting up, where 2 people are carrying the couch, where you're lifting it up, so you're lifting up others. And so for me, my depression is, I am a class 1 couch potato a lot of the times between the races, and I go from a class 1 to a class 4. The only reason it gets me off of it is these conversations, connecting with other people, that mission. And so, and I get, it's like I'm almost bipolar in my exercise world, where I'm doing nothing and then I'm out just killing it. It would be better if I had really great boundaries and great mental health, and I went to my meetings all the time, and I exercised every day, and I got my steps, and I drank my water, and I took care of me, and all of that. But what keeps me from falling off the edge is a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder on the calendar, in which I'm accountable that I'm going to help Joey out. But when we had the couch, man, and all those people joined together, there's veterans, civilians, everybody was thinking of somebody that they lost or somebody they loved to stuck, or about themselves being stuck. And we lifted that up on our shoulders and we carried it through the crowd. And Bear was there. I've seen magic happen in Spartan races and Tough Mudders. I mean, I've gotten to see some of the most beautiful things and set some of the biggest records, like getting Justin Falls through to earn as a quadriplegic, to earn his trifecta. Erica, when she got her first trifecta. I mean, I've seen and been there with some of the most interesting, greatest people of all the sports, and see. But when you see somebody like Erica, you think, oh, she's just too powerful, and too beautiful, and too cool, and that would never happen to me. That's too. But they can't fully relate to it.
No.
It's like I would always say, we'll just keep up with the wheelchair. It wasn't enough. But when I say, if we can get somebody through an obstacle course race in a wheelchair or with invisible scars or struggles like autism or sensory issues, we can do that. And if we can carry a freaking couch through a Spartan race, then we can get you through the race. That's it.
Yeah.
And so the shame and whatever the devil is and the disease will tell you that you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to make it. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to be huffing and puffing. You're not going to finish. You're going to feel like you're going to die. Feel like you're going to shit your pants. You're not going to be able to make it. All the things that comes up in that isolation and whisper those lies in your ears that keeps you from going. What I want people to understand is that they show up in a race, especially they connect through us with More Heart Than Scars, people for BeastNet. I mean, people connect with each other. Go with a buddy, and you're not going to get left behind. And it's so important because that whole thing is like, no matter how slow you're going, you're lapping the people on the couch. And that's not to put the people down on the couch. That's all of us. But it's like just showing up. So we picked that couch up on our shoulders and we started carrying it. And then we worked at teams of 4. And every, 5-10 minutes or so. And someone said, well, you could have padded the bottom of that couch. You could have put a pool noodle on there and go, no, I want to make it hurt. It hurt.
You want to remember it.
Present with it. And so about every 5 to 10 minutes, another team would come in and we would figure out how to do the obstacles. And there was something that just got so clear. So I've been in these big moments, but there was something different about this. The feel of this thing, we're coming for your couch, yourcouch.org, has the potential to be significantly bigger than More Heart Than Scars. I believe that it will. It has the potential to be bigger than just Spartan races and Tough Mudder. The comfort, a friend of mine who's been helping me on some of these ideas, his name's Luke Iora, he said that the comfort is the new epidemic.
It is. It is definitely a new epidemic. And what's funny is when you mention all those things why people don't want to do a Spartan race, I've done all those on course. I've
Yeah.
huffed and puffed. I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. I've crapped my pants on course. It's happened.
Sure.
All these things have
Yeah.
happened to me, and I still get out there and do it because the people that were with me, not one person shamed me when I had any issues. They
Right.
helped me. They were my friends and family, and that's why most of my chosen family
Right.
are people I've met in Spartan.
Oh, I mean, because I have irritable bowel syndrome because I have chronic pancreatitis. If something goes wrong through my body and you stress it out, so there's baby wipes and a change of shorts for my kilt, and it's in my gear bag. And like if I forget it, somebody will, like Arrow was like, "I got your baby wipes." I'm like, "Thanks." I got hand sanitizer. It's just extra steps that it takes because my body doesn't process food the way that it should. Being overweight, and then how hard I push myself. On top of it, my pancreatitis that's become chronic. I used to have a couple episodes a year, and they were episodes. But now it's becoming more chronic that there's just an underlying hum of pain, and it's there. And sometimes if I eat the wrong thing and don't take my Creon to go with it and not managing my stress and my body stuff right, then my body just revolts. But I'm still out there. So 11 years later, I'm still lifting up other people. And that's where the freedom comes from, because the devil may divide us. But when you face the very things that you're afraid of, then all of a sudden the lights come on and it turns out the boogeyman gets scared away. I mean, it is the light in the darkness. When Bob Marley said, light up the darkness, that's what we're doing. We're really kicking the devil in the dirt. We're really doing something pretty incredible. And so I'm excited to team up with Joe DeSena on this, because he's got the people that want to be able to do the burpees, the top athletes. He speaks to my athletic soul when I was younger. Like, I'd want to, like, if I hadn't blown my knees out and I wasn't a chunky guy, I'd be like being friends with Joe. I'm like, let's go, you and me run up that mountain together. We'd be butting heads. He wouldn't be calling me big guy. Yeah, let's do this. He wouldn't be calling me big guy and giggling. He'd be like, let's go. There would have been like, but it shifted. And I believe that more heart than scars is the heart of Spartan races, is the heart of Tough Mudder. I believe that when they see that somebody who's got a bigger belly, that's been through these struggles, and it's no secret of my depression. I mean, you all almost lost, the community almost lost me a few years back.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.